center of the city. A public square, right? A plaza. What is that for? That is engaging all the citizens to go there to debate, to know issues and vote and this or that. This is starting from the Roman empires and the Greek empires. We never had that. So unfortunately, that is the weakness of our culture. And we brought that over with us to the United States. And what we did is we built a lot of Chinatown. I have nothing against Chinatown. So, in short, this is my thing. Think together with me. My view of this is a very rough and convenient way of saying things. If one's life can be divided in two parts, a private part or family, or public part or civic life, private, public, civic, family, we have actually, let me exaggerate that a little bit with the exception of Jay here. We have given up our public life. We have given up our civic life, right? How is Chinese engaging in every aspect of American life? We're not doing much of that. And I think that is a big problem. 那个中国大陆现在个网上说什么？说那个叫什么？我还想不起来叫什么？说美国是好山好水好寂寞，中国大陆什么来着？那个啊？这美国是好山好水好寂寞，中国是怎么说的？哦，好山好色好热闹 ，right? Yeah, okay. Think about this again. If you are American here, you're Chinese American, you have given up all those big fun in public life and civic life. Of course life is boring. How much fun you can have, right? You don't get a promotion in your company and you don't have public life. And the only thing is if your kids, they do SAT, what kind of fun is life, right? And pay mortgage every month. So that is our problem, right? So I think that it's unfortunate that we kind of, with exaggeration a little bit, we've given up 50% of our life, which is public and civic life. You often hear people say, oh, you know what, John, I'm not interested in politics. Think carefully, again, with me. When that guy said he's not interested in politics, very often that actually means not he's not interested in politics per se, but he is not interested in other people's affairs. 他不关心其他人的生活，不关心其他人的事儿。他这个时候说我对政治不感兴趣，不要找我这些事情right? I think I see through that very often. Of course, there are people come, maybe thinking about politics dirty, China's all the bad memory. Yeah, that's part of that. But mostly, I think it's just our apathy. We don't have an empathy and sympathetic understanding with other people's issues, and let alone how to help others. Well, so without caring and interest in other people's life, without empathy and a sympathetic understanding, without engaging in all aspects of our public and civic life, and just keep it to ourselves, how far can we go? How far can we go in this country? How do we cultivate that big, warm-hearted, generous, dynamic personality? I think a lot of this comes from fully engaging in the public and civic life, not just your family life. Family is very important. I'm not discounting that, right? So how do you expect us and our children to be the leaders in all aspects of American life? So what can we do? I just hear somebody just said, 说我们这个 ACP 这个大会是那个职业，主要是讨论职业发展的。我现在想起一个问题，我觉得 maybe I want to thank 他们的会长啊这些邀请我。 I think 我们就职业发展谈职业发展，尤其是 for Chinese Americans, sound to me a little bit limiting. We can hit the limit and the ceiling very fast. But I think maybe we should think about our career development together with, culture, with how to engage in public life. And that 那个思路的话，可能也会有一些帮助，我觉得。That's why actually me and together with many of my friends, we are trying to have this 做点私人广告。就是我们在9月8号的时候，我们这里有些朋友都知道，在 DC 我们要开第一次全国的这个华人大会。我们的大会说穿了的主题就是 how to engage our community more in civic and political life。因为我们觉得这是我们华人社区最缺乏的，也最需要我们 overcome 的一条，不是 do I have another degree or write a few very smart papers. I think this actually counts more, especially think about the executive life and that kind of higher end or goal of your career goal. We really need a cultural renaissance, or we need a cultural revolution, 文化大革命, not in China, but here in our own life, I think. Now this time is the right one, right? So let me finish by sharing a story. A true story with you. And I like to quote this story a lot. I found it by myself in some archives. Back in about 150 years ago, about 150 years ago, when this country was building its transcontinental railroad. We started, the Pacific Union Company started from Sacramento, building to the east, and the other Union something company building from Nebraska to the west, eventually meet in Utah. So when it goes from if you know the geography of Sacramento, you drive a few miles and you hit into the Sierra mountain range. It's really hard work. All those Irish boys, they worked for a few months, they dropped. It's a back-breaking, low pay, all of that. So they couldn't find enough people to build that railroad. And eventually, guys like Stanford, Leonard, they had a emergency board meeting. So where can we find some people to build this railroad? And Leonard said, well, you know what? I heard that there are some Chinese who are pretty good at work. They're a little bit short, but I think we can try it. And the whole board is up in revolt, saying, no Chinese, they cannot do that. This is high-tech stuff, right, in those days. Everybody's against him. So in the end, he got really angry, but he's a big boss. And he stood up and he said, let me ask you all of here, didn't they build a Great Wall in China, right? End of the story. We all know the end of that story. So my challenge is here to you is, if our forefathers can build that terrible and difficult transcontinental railroad, can we begin to change ourselves? Can we begin to change our community? And I think we can. After all, we are proud Chinese Americans. We can do better. Let's do it, and let's do it from Atlanta. Thank you.